In today's video, we are diving into the critical issue of the data protection, exploring 6 high-profile cases in the European Union where companies violated GDPR laws. These cases serve as essential lessons for business worldwide about safeguarding personal data and ensuring privacy. Let's explore each case, the violations, and the lessons we can learn. First up, we had the case of British Airways, one of the most well-known airline breaches under GDPR. First question is, what is the case all about? In June 2018, British Airways suffered a significant data breach. Hackers redirected their website to a fraudulent page exposing sensitive customers' data, including login credentials, travel details, and payment card information. What are the facts of the case? Approximately 500,000 customers were impacted, with personal data such as names, addresses, credit card numbers, expiration dates, and CVV codes compromised. What are the issues in the case? The issue here are the company's failure to secure its website, which led to a massive personal data breach. British Airways was criticized for not having robust cybersecurity measures in place to prevent this hack. What is the ruling of the court? The Information Commissioner's Office, or ICO, fined British Airways a record €204.6 million for violating GDPR laws, particularly the security requirements of the regulation. And lastly, what are the takeaways from this case? This lesson here is clear. Businesses must ensure the security of customers' data, implement strong cybersecurity system, and be proactive in addressing vulnerabilities. Second case is Marriott International Hotel case. What is the case all about? Next, we look for Marriott International, a US-based hotel chain which suffered a breach that exposed personal data of over 300 million customers. What are the facts of the case? Sensitive data, including data card information, passport numbers, and dates of birth, was leaked, affecting over 30 million EU residents. What are the issues in the case? The breach happened because Marriott failed to detect the intrusion in its system, which went undetected for several years. The personal data was stored improperly without adequate protection. What is the ruling? The ICO imposed a fine of €110.3 million in Marriott for failing to adequately protect the personal data of its customers. And lastly, what are the takeaways? Companies should continuously monitor their systems for vulnerabilities and act quickly when a breach is detected. GDPR mandates swift actions and transparency in case of data exposure. Third case is a Google case. Now let's look at Google, which faced a fine for not following GDPR transparency rule, even though there was no actual data breach. What are the facts? Google was fined €50 million for not making its data processing policies clear and transparent to users. They did not ask for explicit consent before using personal data for targeted ads. The issues was that it failed to provide easy access to user consent settings, and the language used in its privacy policies was ambiguous. And what is the ruling of the UE court? Google was fined by the French Data Protection Authority for non-compliance with the GDPR transparency and consent requirements. The key takeaway is companies must ensure that user consent is clear, informed, and specific, and that users can easily understand how their data is being used. Next is Austrian Post case. In 2019, the Austrian Post was fined for selling customer data without consent. The Austrian Post sold consumer data, including political preferences, which violated GDPR rules. This data was gathered through surveys and sold to third parties. Here are the main issue was that personal data was sold without the consumer's consent, violating GDPR rules on data processing and sharing. The Austrian Post was fined 18.5 million euros for breaching GDPR privacy and data sale regulation. Consent is crucial before sharing or selling customer data. Companies must ensure transparency and secure approval before using personal data for any secondary purposes. Fifth issue is Deutsche Wohnen CE case. In October 2019, Deutsche Wohnen, a real estate company, was fined for keeping personal data longer than necessary. The company kept sensitive data for longer than necessary and had no valid reason to retain it, violating GDPR's principle of data minimization. Data should be only retained for as long as needed, and companies must have valid reason to hold on to this information. Deutsche Wohnen was fined 14.5 million euros for violating the data retention requirements of GDPR. For the takeaways, businesses need to establish clear data retention policies and periodically audit their data storage practices to ensure compliance with GDPR. 6 is what is the case is 1&1 Telecom GBH case. Finally, we have the case of 1&1 Telecom where the company call center exposed customer data. Customers were able to access sensitive data by providing only a name and date of birth, revealing poor security in the company's authentication process. The issue was indicate security measures at the call center, violating GDPR's requirement for robust data protecting and authentication. 1&1 Telecom was fined 9.5 million euros for failing to ensure adequate data protecting measures. For the takeaways, strong customer authentication processes are essential. Companies must verify identities securely to avoid exposing sensitive data. So what we can learn from the 6 cases, GDPR compliance is not just about avoiding fines. It's just about protecting customer trust, being transparent, and putting in place robust data protections measures. To avoid the costly fines and damage reputation seen in these cases, companies should prioritize data security, ensure transparency in data collections, and regularly audit their data practices.